Welcome, and thank you for joining me for True Scary Stories by the Candlelight. This is actually going to be part two to my first one that I've ever done. If you have not seen that, I do urge you to go check that out so you can hear the first set of stories I have told. So, without further ado, let's continue. Story number 11. Heavy Footsteps. I was in the basement watching TV in the dark while my whole family was upstairs. As I'm chilling there, I hear footsteps coming down the basement stairs. And while I normally can tell which family member it is by the cadence/heaviness of the steps, I didn't recognize these ones. The footsteps stopped before the bottom of the stairs, so I called out saying, "Oh, ha ha, so scary. I know, it's you." Thinking that it is my brother or someone trying to scare me, I look back to the TV and the footsteps start again, and I whip my head back to the stairs just in time to see a dark figure go into a side room that has glass doors. It's pretty much pitch black, so I assumed whoever it was standing right behind the glass looking at me. That's when I started to get scared, and so I ran to the lights and flipped them on, only to find the room empty. My entire family was still upstairs. It was too spooky. Story number 12. The Praying Nun. My dad worked at a mental hospital that used to be connected to an underground passage to a nun's home that was now abandoned. He says that one night he was walking down there when he saw a praying nun. He walked by her and said, "Hello," but she did not acknowledge him. My dad does not believe in ghosts, but he swears there was a nun down there that night. Story number 13. The Good Deed. It was not me, it was my father. He was in a van going to a church function somewhere in Iowa. They were traveling down the highway when they saw a guy walking down the road, and the youth pastor decided to pick him up since it was raining. They asked the guy where his destination was. It was just past the town they were heading to. The rain turned into a very strong storm. It was late afternoon, and it was pitch black outside. The group kept in high spirits, singing church songs. When they were going past the town, they couldn't see anything. Shortly after passing the town in the middle of nowhere, the gentleman said, "This is my destination. It is still storming and bad outside." The youth pastor says, "We can take you farther." The guy says, "This is where I need to be." So they stop about 2 to 3 miles past this town. The guy then asked for some money. The youth pastor felt moved to give him the 4 $100 bills in his wallet, all the money he had. The guy exits the van. A large crack of thunder turns. Their heads away, they look back. There is no man there anymore. Split second, and he is gone. And the rain had just stopped. The group was shocked. They said a prayer for the guy and went back towards town. They turned into the exit for the town and saw the town it had been ravaged by a tornado about when they were going past on the highway. They went into the town to immediately start helping people. Later that night, the youth pastor pulled out his wallet, and there in his wallet are 8 $100 bills. Story number 14. The apartment. I moved into my apartment about 5 years ago. It was my first time living there alone and having my own place. After unpacking, I took pictures of everything I had, but when I took a picture of my TV, it didn't turn out right. The TV was off, but on the screen there was a white girl with black hair wearing a blue shirt. The shirt left the shoulders bare, and there was a man on his knees in front of the girl. He was wearing a white shirt that was way too big for him. Standing behind the man on his knees and next to the girl was a taller, older man. He was skinny and balding and was wearing a brown suit with black pinstripes. After I took the picture, I didn't want to live there anymore. Then weird things started happening. My cat, who got spooked easily and started hissing at something I couldn't see. My favorite Coca-Cola glass fell by itself off the draining board. It wasn't even close to the edge of the counter. Months later, I was getting ready for bed. I was standing in front of my bedroom door when this black figure walked right in front of me like I wasn't there. I can't explain it. Weird stuff still happens. When I'm in my bedroom, I can smell cigar smoke as if someone is blowing it right in my face. I can hear old-timey music like from the 20s. I can also hear conversations going on in the living room. When I am the only person in the apartment and I keep seeing this girl in a blue dress and black hair standing at the foot of my bed. She never does anything, just stands there and watches me sleep. Story number 15. The shaking bed. When I was a kid, I woke up in the middle of the night to my bed shaking. Normally, that would scare the crap out of me. But instead, I was just kind of annoyed. I rolled over and muttered, "Stop it." The shaking stopped immediately. Then a male voice speaks right beside me saying, "Sorry." That's when I freaked out. I'm pretty sure my childhood house was haunted. Story number 16. 2 bullets. I was a rookie cop when my brother committed suicide. He was one of my oldest siblings, but we were very close. He died in another state, and I had a lot of guilt about not recognizing the signs. His remains were in bad shape by the time he was discovered, so it was a closed coffin service. About a week after he died, I was back at work one night, and my partner and I see a pimp pistol whipping one of his girls. I jumped out, and the pimp sees me, and the foot chase was on. I was running after him, gun in hand, and he cuts through a narrow corridor under a building that leads to a courtyard in the middle. Right before I reach the courtyard, I hear, "It's okay." in my dead brother's voice. I hit the courtyard, and the guy is against the side, pointing a gun at my head. He squeezes the trigger twice. I froze for a millisecond and then started beating him in the head with my revolver. Till this day, I don't know why I didn't just shoot him, cuff him, and walk him back to the street and find my partner. I tell my partner about him squeezing the trigger, but not the voice I heard. We unload the gun, .32 revolver, right there, and 2 bullets have strike marks on them. Take the gun to the lab for testing. Tell the tech the story. He puts the 2 bullets with strike marks back in and shoots into the test tank. Both bullets fired. Story number 17. The Patient. A good friend of mine, while doing his rounds as a young intern, he is now a neurosurgeon. He had just looked in on a dying patient. After making the patient comfortable, he exited the room and sat on a nearby chair to write his report. After a few minutes, he looked up and saw this patient walking down the hallway. He called to the woman, but there was no response. As he stood up to walk after her, she disappeared. He quickly walked toward the patient's room and saw a light under the door. When he opened the door, it was completely dark in the room, so he turned on the nightlight, went over to the patient, and felt for her pulse. She had died. Story number 18. Standing guard. We used to live in a battered woman's and children's shelter when I was young because my father was looking for us. Ugly divorce. Alabama gave him custody. Mom took us to abbreviations for WA, which is Washington. One night, I looked in the mirror and saw a kind looking man that I can only describe as a ghost. At the end of my bed, he was there all night, but gone when I woke up in the morning. He came back the next night, and the night after that. He was there every night for 4 months. We never talked. He never moved, just stood guard. Then one night, he woke me up from my sleep, and I'll never forget how surprised I was, because I'd never seen him move or talk. He said, "He's coming. Get out now." I woke up my mom and we packed up the car and went to a hotel for the night. The next morning, we went back to find out someone had broken in and gone room to room looking for someone. I never saw him again after that. Story number 19. The Crying Baby. When I was about 10, my father and little brother and I went camping at a nearby site. My mom didn't want to go because she was 5 months pregnant and she didn't want to be hot and uncomfortable in a tent. Sometime that night, we heard a sound like a baby crying. My dad said it was a cat, but it went on and on. The next morning, Dad got us set up fishing, and he walked to a phone. When he came back, we had to pack up and leave immediately. We later found out my mom had a miscarriage in the night. For years, it haunted me that That was the baby we heard crying. Story number 20. Voices in the Cave. I work as a cave guide and lead tours where we take people actually spelunking, actual spelunking. Well, one day we take a group down in the cave and everybody is having a good time. We stop to take a break at a part of the cave where you can hear the underground stream that flows through the cave. We have everyone turn out their headlights where it's complete darkness. It's very relaxing. Then all of a sudden, we start hearing what sounds like people talking out in front of us, and sounds of what seems to be rocks being thrown in the water. The thing is, there is 100-foot drop in front of us, and the stream is at the bottom. I've never heard anything like that before in the cave, and neither had the other guide that was with me. We continue and complete the tour, and after cleaning up some of the gear, decide to go record the noises with our phones. As we are going back into the cave, a different tour is coming out. This tour takes people on concrete trails through a different part of the cave, but goes where the spelunking tours begin. The guide off this tour looks at both of us a little surprised and asks, "How did y'all get out so fast?" We are just like, "Dude, we have been out for an hour," he says. That his whole tour could hear people talking back in the cave where the spelunking tour goes. Now everybody is kind of creeped out, and we have to call the law enforcement officer and go look for the people that snuck into the cave. We never find anybody or evidence of someone sneaking in. Story number 21. The Haunted House. As a teen, my friends and I used to go to an abandoned houses to drink, smoke, and chill at night. One particular house we favored had an easy roof access, and view up there of the lake was really great. One night, several of us were up on the roof just shooting the shit when we all start to notice sounds like someone is walking around in the house below us. We went down to investigate and looking through varying windows. We all clearly see some dark figure walking around. So, like any good scary movie, we break in to investigate. We search the house from top to bottom, finding nothing. We get to our last unexpected room, and it's the only one in the house that is locked. After busting our way in, we are greeted to a bedroom, and it was as if it had been untouched by time. No dust, no debris, no rotting walls, nothing. On the desk beside the bed lay a Bible. On the bed was what I can only describe as classic witch's hat. Around it, a black lacy dress or veil. At the moment, we were already starting to get weirded out. We hear a booming sound that seems like it came from everywhere. We flew out of there. I was driving away and didn't see it, but my buddies in my car said They looked back and saw what appeared to be someone on the porch waving goodbye. Story number 22. The Old Woman. Laying in bed one night, it's pitch black. Apart from light creeping under the door from the landing, my mum was in the same room as we had only just moved in, and she was sleeping on the floor. I looked up, and the door creaks open, and slowly an oldish woman peers around the door, at me, looks at me, and goes away. I just thought it was a nightmare and turned around real fast and went under the covers, hoping I would wake up. Then I will never forget my mum whispering to me, "Did you just see someone peer around the door?" Safe to say, we didn't sleep a wink that night. Story number 23. The Nanny. I was a nanny for about 5 years to a wealthy family. They lived in an enormous house on a lake. The mom had had a lot of close relatives pass away in a short amount of time and was struggling with grief. The kid was about 6 months old, and mom had gone to hear her counseling session. Weird stuff started happening the minute I got there. Toys lined up on the counter by themselves. I saw a piano chair pull itself away from the piano. I called my sister thinking I was going crazy, and she asked me if there were other people there because she could hear people talking in the background. The baby started screaming in his crib. I ran upstairs to get him, but the door slammed shut in my face. When I finally got it open, he was in the middle of his floor, reaching up to something in the corner like he wanted to be picked up. All these events happened within a 45-minute window. It was intense. I took him outside and we stayed there until his mom came home. She claimed to have had similar experiences, which was making it difficult for her to heal from her losses. I worked there for a long time after that, but nothing like that ever happened again. Story number 24. The Third Floor. On my previous job, when our building was still under construction, the only floors that were occupied were the first, second, fifth, sixth, and seventh. One time I was alone inside the elevator going from first to the sixth floor, when suddenly it stopped and opened on the third floor. Normally I would just disregard it, but rumors were all over that a ghost child was playing around on the vacant floors. So I pressed the closed button as fast as I could. When it closed, I heard noises like someone was tapping their fingers on the walls of the elevator. Story number 25. And it will be the last one from this packet. It is titled Demon Dog. My uncle told this really creepy story about a good friend of his who worked in the canine unit. He is a police officer. Canine officers have to take their dogs home at night. The officer and his wife were having marital issues, and they had been angry with each other. The wife told the officer to put the dog outside, and so he did. Locked up the house and went to bed. About 10 minutes later, the dog comes into the room and starts bothering the couple. The wife says, "I thought I told you to put that damn dog outside." The officer replies with, "I did." Well, he got back in, so the officer gets up to put the dog back outside, and when he reaches the sliding glass door, he sees his dog barking and growling, running around. He immediately lets go of the dog in his hand and stands back. The dog proceeded to stand on two legs and walk through the glass and disappeared into the night. After the officer got divorced, his wife admitted she had seen the demon dog thing multiple times when she was a child. Well, I hope you all enjoyed the rest of these true scary stories from this packet, as that was the end. So, if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. Give this video a like if you feel like it. And hopefully in the near future, I should have more. Anyways, I gotta go for now. And thank you all for listening. Gotta go. Later.